I'm here with James Toner, who's come down from Scotland. Been reading his books. We've got definitely, maybe, probably not about his Indian prison experience. And if you've watched any of these Banged Up Abroad episodes, Indian prisons are no joke, as you're about to find out in this podcast. His other book, Don't Believe the Truth, India, is the follow-up. Links to James' books, available worldwide on Amazon, will be in the description box below this video. We've got Wildman. Everyone's saying, let's get Wildman doing more co-interviews. And we're filming 3 or 4 this week. So, James, thanks for coming all the way down from Scotland. And, I've seen your stuff on James English. How was it that you came to end up in this Indian prison? Then did you have a long history of drug use? Looking at your book here.
What happened was, I was brought up in a housing estate in Glasgow, a scheme. We call them schemes in Glasgow. And maybe about 19, 20, I got involved in selling drugs. And that just kind of snowballed, and started selling a small bit of hash, and then the late 80s, the late 80s, early 90s was ecstasy. So I was up and down to England and across to Europe, and my brother was putting parties on, and we were supplying the pills at the parties.
So you've jumped quite a bit there then. How did you just fall into selling drugs like that first?
So what happened was, my brother was quite a smart boy. He was 5 years younger than me. I was the daft one at the 2 years. And so he would have been 16, and he suggested that we put 100 quid each in, and we bought a bit of dope. And that would have been 1987. And that's what we done. We bought a bit of dope, an ounce of dope, hard hash, Moroccan. And we turned it into 2 ounce of dope, and then turned it into 4 ounce, the quarter pound. Before everybody started talking grams and kilos.
Yeah.
So it was a quarter pound. But I could never see, I was never in it for the long game. I always wanted the profit when the profit was there. And me and him fell out. We fell out all the time. And when that happened, I started working for other people, selling bits of dope for other people, or when people start to trust you, send you to drop things off to people and pick bags up and stuff like that. So that's how it all started for me. The late 80s, and then it all went a bit crazy.
When you started, did you do cash on delivery, or did you actually front people?
No, people were getting fronted. So when we started, we had our own money.
Yeah.
Like I say, it was only a small bit, but then as more people are starting to sell the hash, because at that point it was, no everybody was selling dope at the time. As more people started to sell it, then you were having to front people. There was people who came and paid cash.
Yeah, to actually get the business, isn't it, really?
To get in the business, you were fronting people.
Was it all friendly at this level? Was there not any risk,
it was all
danger?
friendly, I was rubbish at it, I was rubbish at selling drugs.
There'll be eighths and quarters, won't it, mainly?
That's exactly what it was. It was, so an eighth was
probably 15,
aye, so
quarter, 25,
so an eighth,
30.
there was actually a 16th up there as well, and they called that a deal.
Oh, yeah.
So
a tina, we call it.
Aye, but I remember back in the 80s, so there's 28 grams in an ounce, right?
Yeah.
So that's 7 quarters in an ounce. But I remember at the time, these ounces were 5 quarter ounces. So there was like 5.5 grams in a quarter. So you weren't even getting a quarter if you didn't pay for it up front, you were getting, there's what you got. And everybody was into Bob Marley and all that, and it was all pretty friendly,
So you were getting 5.5 instead of 7?
Mm-hmm.
So no one tried to rip you off at this stage?
No, a rip-off. No, there was people who couldn't pay. I think that's just the nature of the thing, isn't it?
And what's your consumption like in the early years?
So in the early years, I was I smoked a lot of dope. That was probably hitting. I liked the odd trip, a wee bit of speed, but then probably 1988, somebody gave me my first pill, and that was it. That was.
And all that goes.
And I watched your TED talk, and I was like, I get that, I totally get that. But mine was, it wasn't at a rave, and it was in a pub, and there was maybe 5 of us had pills, and everybody else in the pub didn't have a clue. You know what I mean? The music wasn't right. You were coming out your wee trance, and you were sitting with strangers, and goodness knows what you'd been saying to them, and and nobody was on the same wavelength. And then it all just kind of progressed up in Scotland as well. Scotland was, don't know, a year or two behind England. People were coming down to England and coming back up the road, and they were £20 each at the time. You know what I mean? They were well worth the £20 at the time. So, and that was it. That was. The next few years were fantastic.
And did you start going to the raves and stuff?
We did, aye. We my brother, like I say, he was younger than me, but he was into NME, and he was into loads of different stuff, and he knew what was happening down here. So there was some small parties starting to happen, and he started putting parties on. And then there was connections down in London, and then there was other people were putting bigger parties on. I was in a relationship at the time, and I was pretty much couldn't get going out and partying as much as what I wanted, and I was really jealous of them. I would go on the Sunday, and they would all be hanging, and I would be like that.
So your younger brother was putting parties on. What kind of DJs was he getting?
At the time, it was probably just local DJs, but it was Detroit Techno was the first kind of
Juan Atkins
and Derek May, stuff like that. And it's I can still listen to it today. I've got it on Apple Music today when I'm in the gym. I'm like that with it on.
We were going a lot of parties with Sasha, Carl Cox,
John Dickweed,
Evolution,
Carl Cox as well. I remember going to see him in the Barrowland in Glasgow. But there was a club in Edinburgh that they all used to go to every now and again. I would go to this club, and it was called Pure, and it was in a place called The Venue in Calton Hill in Edinburgh. And the two DJs were called Twitch and Brainstorm, who are now Optimo, and they're still, I'm 54. Them guys are older than me, and they're still doing the same thing. But they were bringing in Carol Cox, and they were bringing in Derek May and Kevin Carter, and and it was all the proper Detroit stuff. That's what I was into. But my brother, some of these parties were blinding. So that's what we've done.
So is your level of dealing escalating in this country?
Yes. At that point, it definitely was. Probably so any parties that he put on, me and one of my friends, we'd be the ones who were selling the pills at the parties. And it was pretty much a closed shop, you know what I mean? If nobody else was allowed to sell, that's what you're putting the party on for.
Exactly. Did you have your own security as well?
And it was pretty. I speak about it in the first book. Where there was a block of flats, and they were in the process of knocking these. A multi-story. They were in the process of knocking them down, and he had a rave in the community hall at the bottom of the flats. Egg boxes up as soundproofing. But the security, so there's a smoke machine. There was a guy having a fit, who's my friend to this day.
A guy was having a seizure.
There was a guy having a seizure.
Because of the strobes.
Because of the strobes, aye. And that was him finding out he was epileptic.
Yeah.
This guy as well, aye. Nobody knew what to do about it because it wasn't like nobody had any medical training. And there was the security was walking about with a baseball bat and a big Rottweiler, and the Rottweiler was on the loose, man. And it was, looking back, it was pretty surreal. But at that point, there was never any trouble. You know what I mean? There was never any.
No.
There was, I suppose, a kind of respect thing going on as well. There was no.
The first raves me and Shaun went to, they were very similar, really. But the guys would be outside, and they'd have like an Asda bag two big lads, bald, two big dogs, and an Asda bag, and you'd put your tenner in the bag
Aye.
and you just go in. And when the police come, you just have to run because you just let the dogs off.
It's class. And that's what ended up happening with the first party was fine, and then they had another one in the same place, and there was buses coming for all the clubs in Glasgow. Oh, they were hearing it's a good party on up there.
Yeah.
And then the fact that these buses and taxis were pulling up at this more or less empty block of flats. And I remember because I was selling the juice at this party, you know, the soft drinks. So when the police came, I had all this, like, probably hundreds of pounds of change, you know what I mean? And whose party is it? I don't know whose party it is, you know. Because we got the keys of the community room off of some wee woman who was trusting us to look out for the place.
The profit on just selling the water and juice and there's good
Aye.
though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Aye.
I mean, I've heard now in Ibiza it's like £20 a bottle of water.
My
Some of
goodness,
the
yeah.
raves. It's
Yeah, some of
ridiculous.
those clubs, yeah, €20. It's crazy, isn't it?
Aye.
For a bottle of water, get out.
So what pills were you getting back then? Was it the White Doves?
The White Doves were there, Snowballs. There was some of the ones that I really liked were rhubarb and custard capsules.
Oh, I remember them.
Dennis the Menace
Yeah,
capsules.
Dennis the Menace capsules.
They
They
were,
looked like Moxil, didn't they?
that's exactly what they looked
yeah.
like. Aye, they were.
They're the first ones I'd ripped off then when they come out. Because what we used to do, get a bit of speed and half an acid and MBS. And we'd fucking just put it in the capsules, sell it as an E.
Aye. Well, so that was. But the Snowballs were. I remember them when they arrived. They had a couple of big raves down in Ayrshire and big ones in big tents. And I took my first Snowball down there. And I was driving, you know, because that was the thing, you know. You took your pills and then people jumped into their cars to go to wherever they were going after.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
you put your
driver.
music in.
A total disgrace, man. But that was.
808 State radio station.
Yeah.
So that was the pills.
So how did that make you feel then, your first E's? What was that so good about it?
I was thinking with your description of your first pill. I can't remember mine exactly the way it was, but I remember just this euphoric feeling, you know. And I remember because I was never comfortable living the life of selling drugs.
Yeah.
I was always on edge, you know, and that left me totally, you know. And I can remember, you know, just I want more than that. I wanted it to last forever, and I think I've heard it said 100 times. No, I wish this feeling would last forever. So that was Ease were definitely the one that got me, you know. The
They were a better
definitely.
class of ecstasy back then as well, weren't they?
Aye.
You'd pay £25 for your pill, like, but I mean, it'd last, you know what I mean?
Aye.
But you'd have to work on it too. Like you said, the first one you had in a pub and probably listening to pub music, if anything, you're going to sledge
Aye.
because you're not going to really come up on it. You have to dance your pill,
Aye, that's
don't
right,
you?
Aye.
I was a smiler, hugger, dancer, definitely.
Aye.
Because before the rave scene, I wouldn't really dance, but once I got on E, just couldn't stop.
No, I was the same. I was a shuffler, you know what I mean? I just
Well, it hides all your inhibitions. It's just, you don't have no fear, do you? You don't like.
Do you want to demonstrate?
I danced the way I walked to the toilet there. Now. That's what happens when your hips are.
Got the old this.
Yeah.
Head bobbing, arms in the air.
I was just a head rocker.
Except for that one time in the Crowbar, the yellow construction hat night.
Oh yes, in a gay bar.
Some
Brilliant.
proper gyrations going on there. Bump and grind.
Yeah. I was getting bumped and grinded on.
It was yellow construction hat night at this gay bar we went. So I was like daring people. It was just get a hat on and jump up there. And Wildman was like, yeah.
I'll do it.
I'll do it, yeah. Free pill.
I don't want to know what you've done for a free pill.
So the happy early years then, how long did they last?
They were a few years, definitely. They were probably, I would say, for 89 I think my first pill would have been 88. So 88, 89, 1990 was a big year in Scotland for that stuff. 91, 92, he was still having good parties. And then, and I can remember when it all just went no very nice for me in 1993 when people started, selling gear.
Yeah.
Started selling coke and it all went,
Moody.
It went dead moody, and I can remember guys who had sold 100 pills to, or guys who had been cuddling and dancing with for years previous, and as soon as I started taking that stuff, I was getting psychosis very early in my cocaine using years.
When you say psychosis, what are we actually experiencing?
Seeing and hearing.
Paranoia.
Paranoia is a thing that you're thinking, ain't you? But I was, and I speak about it, I'm in recovery today, and when I speak about the psychosis, right from an early start, I was seeing people speaking about me, people who weren't even speaking to one another. When they passed one another, I knew they were speaking about me. I knew they were police for an early. I could hear them mentioning my name.
Was this right away, or did you have a good period on coke
I
first?
didn't have a good period.
Straight to psychosis?
Pretty much straight to psychosis.
Were you doing so much you weren't getting any sleep?
Sleep wasn't the kind of... When I first started taking coke, I wasn't taking millions of it, but I wasn't getting much sleep because of the party thing that was happening, and
Yeah.
And my thing to bring me back down, I drank a lot, so I loved drinking at the tail end of the have a party, go on a Friday or a Saturday. By the time I'd kind of stopped taking the drugs on the Sunday evening, it was just drink into oblivion. But the
So there's different effects, isn't there, when you mix everything up?
Aye, definitely, aye, absolutely. And add that to whatever, because all our chemical makeups are different as well, and that's why some people can do that.
Yeah.
And no get
Paranoid.
no get any psychosis at all. And then other people like me, I was never ever able to. I can remember way back in the early, probably kind of the mid-90s. And I knew, I was like, this is all changing. I don't like this. People who I trusted, people who I'd had in my flat, people who I considered friends, I knew they were planning things, and it was worse than paranoia. It was.
Sorry to interrupt, but you find that you say that you're paranoid, but I also find that you're being cautious too. When people go in changing from taking the pills and going to the coke and all that, it does get more moodier, and people do change. You know what I mean? You're astute to that. You're aware of that.
Aye.
And the lack of sleep. That's the only time I'd be psychotic. It's like the lack of sleep, really.
Aye.
I'd be up for 5 or 6 days on speed, and then you do hear voices, you do see things, and the more you think about it, I could be in a room with two people, and they could not saying anything but talking about me. They're plotting to do something.
Aye. That's exactly the way it was for me.
Yeah.
And did you act on any of that?
No. My best thinking at the time, Shaun, would probably have been to have another line, in the hope that I would feel better when I had the other line. So I I was never kind of violent towards anything like,
I acted upon it, and then it makes you look even worse then, you know what I mean?
We try and dose Wildman with Xanax to get him to come down from his binge.
Aye.
You didn't have any access to Valium or Xanax or anything?
No, at that time I was not, like I said, at that time, so in Scotland at that time, it was temazepam.
Yeah, the eggs.
So they were yellow eggs, and people were taking the yellow eggs, taking a company. But the company that I kept in the group that I partied with, we didn't really, because a lot of the yellow egg stuff was people were going out taking pills, taking yellow eggs, drinking, then there would be violence, or the odd one would go and steal a car and crash into another 6 cars and stuff like that. So there was always a, I don't want to say dirty element to it, but there was always something that we were never into.
Well, people started cutting these as well, didn't they? Start smacking them.
No. Or ketamine.
Yeah.
I can remember one of a rave and the E's that had been distributed and that we were selling as well. I don't think we normally got them in big batches, and I think we couldn't get them. Somebody else got us a few hundred, and I was selling them, and and people were just, because I saw ketamine and the effects, and I took ketamine now. At that point, I didn't know what it was and what it done. It tranquilises horses, so.
It's nice in the right place. Ketamine's good when you're in the house on your own. You know what I mean? Away from everyone.
Aye.
It's not good when you're in a club and you're already feeling a bit
That was what they were doing, but.
How did it make you feel the first time you took ket?
The first time I actually took ket and knew I was taking ket and took it because it was ket was nowhere near that time in my life, because it was never readily available. My first experience with ketamine was in India.
Okay.
And it was later on in my probably the year before I got arrested in India.
Did you go into a K-hole or did you enjoy it?
Totally right into I had been to the Taj Mahal previous to it, and I was sure, right, I was sure that I was in this marble block and they had built the Taj Mahal
around
or round about me. And I was in the very centre of it, because it's geometrically perfect into the Taj Mahal.
Well, it must be a trip alone just being in the Taj Mahal, though, you know what I mean? Even on a normal head, it must be amazing.
No, I was on a normal head in the Taj Mahal. This was
was
weeks later.
Yeah.
But the fact that I'd been totally in awe of the Taj Mahal as a building, and there's a nice wee story to the Taj Mahal. But then what happened was we were, you could buy it at the chemist in India. So I was buying it. You could buy it in a liquid and put it onto a plate and turn it into the powder. Cook it into a powder. So it was pretty pure as well. You know what I mean? It wasn't mixed with anything. And that was my first experience of it. Horrible stuff to actually, when it goes down the back of your throat. But aye.
We used to mix it with Xanax, didn't we?
Yeah, they call us the Zek tribe, the media, because we were known for mixing Xanax, ecstasy and ketamine all together, because then you've got the edge taken off the ketamine with the Xanax and the ecstasy, so it doesn't go into that dark realm. You're pretty much like high, but you're also having a little bit of a hallucination effect from the ketamine with a smile on your face.
We'd always get the yellow ketamine, because it started off, there was like 3 lots. There was like ketamine, and there was ketafet, wasn't there?
All the Mexican stuff.
And the ketajet. And you'd go, like, say, you'd go to the pharmacy and buy it.
Aye.
But, I mean, some of it was just like, the yellow one was good stuff, but the ketaset one was just like, it was literally like an elephant tranquilizer. And it was just, it just knocked you completely out. You'd be in a K-hole instantly.
Well, yeah, we're in a few of those. So we've jumped ahead a bit here then. So what is happening in the intervening years between it starting to get into coke and the darkness before you go to India? Was anything notable that happened in those years?
During probably the kind of when the dance scene finished for me, probably about 1993, and I was drinking more, sniffing loads of coke. I was then working with some people, and I was getting sent up and down to London to bring bags back, and so I had loads of cash. Probably about 1995, somebody gave me my first, and I'm not blaming whoever it was, but somebody gave me my first shot of a pipe. And from 95 until probably 99, I was on and off the pipe.
So you're talking about crack?
Aye.
And how did crack make you feel the first time you did that?
So crack was just, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before in my life, the full. So I didn't know that, and I believe the day that anything I've ever took was filling a wee void that was in me.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking it because I really enjoyed it, or it was filling a void in me that I identify as being an addict. My first thing with a crack was just took my breath away. I went into a tunnel. The bells were ringing. It was great. I loved it. And then immediately I'm thinking, they're all talking about me. Straight away they're all getting more on their pipe than I got on my pipe.
Yeah.
But I fucking, when I'd calmed down, I wanted more. I wanted more, and I didn't become a crack addict straight away. That wasn't.
You never become a carpet picker where you see like a little white thing on the carpet.
Later on in my
putting bum fluff and everything on a fucking pipe,
you're like,
thinking it's crack.
That's not, because it all looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So then I would take a bit, and I would be with certain people and they would be doing it, and then I would get involved. And then me and another boy who I worked with together, me and him ended up we were taking quite a lot of it.
Has your social circle changed now? Is this your old friends have graduated to crack and hard drugs?
At that point there was, so I think at the time in the mid-90s there was loads of people who to the outside world wouldn't have known they were into the crack. Mm-hmm. They would maybe on the odd occasion a wee special event, there would be nobody who would be going to do it again. But as the 90s progressed, and my fear of getting caught doing what I was doing in terms of bringing stuff back from London or selling drugs in Glasgow, I was always running away from myself, and the crack was how I done it. Mm-hmm. for a few years, and it was the last few years of the 90s were horrendous for me. Absolutely horrendous.
What were you running away from?
Myself.
Have you gone inside yourself and tried to figure that out?
I have. I think that the kind of a trauma I find in my dad dying when I was a young boy affected me a lot more than I would have thought. You know what I mean?
How old were you?
I was 10.
10.
So I got up when I was 10. We stayed in South Africa, and he was lying on the bathroom floor. 2 weeks later, we're back in Glasgow. So we'd went for living in South Africa, a good life in terms of swimming pools and the sun shining, and a decent, good memories there.
I'd be on crack myself if it come from a nice place like that to go to living back to Glasgow.
I didn't. My mum, God love her, she doesn't ever talk about my dad or anything like that. So it wasn't until later years that I was saying to her, how long did it take us to come back? 2 years. I'm thinking. So I was that was a big, massive thing in my life, because in 1975 when that happened, nobody explained to a young person death. Nobody sat you down and says, here's what's going to happen. I remember being told, you're the man of the house now. Act like the man of the house. And I found that when I started drinking when I was 15 or 16, that I was able to squash all these feelings.
Mm-hmm. So in the house was there just you and your little brother? Do you have any other siblings?
No, just me and him and my mum.
Wow, and you were told to be the man of the house at 10 years old.
Aye.
It's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
I think that was a common thing, I think that's, you were west of Scotland. I don't know what like it is and where you come from, but it's a working class thing as well, isn't it? Especially at that point, in 1975, where boys don't cry. You're man up. You're the man of the house now.
No therapy, anything like that.
None of that. And I started to believe it. I started to believe I'm the man of the house. I gave my mum a terrible time when I was growing up. A terrible, terrible time.
Because you were acting up because of the trauma.
Aye, so there's the fact of that, and then as I got older, I'm quite sure that I knew I was going to have a terrible time. So I would have been suppressing all that shame and the guilt
I'm feeling guilt
and
on
the
it.
remorse stuff that comes for that as well.
Yeah.
And that's winding it forward to the 90s, and I'm on the pipe, but I'm still trusted to carry big bags of money to people. And I'm talking serious amounts of money.
Are these heavy people that you don't want to rip off?
Oh, absolutely, aye. People close to me as well, but there's always a connection if you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds, isn't there?
Yeah.
Trusted to go and pick up parcels with 100 kilo of hash or 10 kilo of coke or hundreds of thousands of pills. And
you must have been acting right then, because normally you wouldn't trust someone who smokes crack to go and do that, would you?
This was what I used to do. Me and the guy who was my mate, we were trusted to lift the phone, bring us this, look after that, go and get that. So come dark, when the shop shut, if you like,
It's your time to
was
let
your
your
time
hair
to
down.
thing we done, right? So see if 8 o'clock through to 4, 5, 6 in the morning, we'd be on the pipe. I would go down the road, I would be taking painkillers or anything to try and dull the thing by this point. Anything to get that 4 or 5 hours sleep, so as I walk back up and I'm no craving a pipe of crack, you know what I mean? Because I know that I've got stuff that I have to do that day.
Yeah.
So for the next 6 or 7 hours, I'm there in case I'm required to pick something up, to drop something off, to and I can, and I believe the subconscious mind is an amazing thing as well. But I can remember when my brother, who kind of worked with, caught me as well. You know what I mean? Because I'd managed to hide it for him because he knew what I was like with the. He used to say, "I would let you watch all my money, but I wouldn't let you watch a gram of my coke." Because I wouldn't have spent any of his money, but I would have snorted his coke. And it would get into the tail end of the 90s. He was in Spain. He'd left his phone with me. He'd left his car keys with me. 1999 this was. And one of my friends was getting married. We were coming to Blackpool for a stag weekend. We were leaving on the Saturday morning. On the Friday night, I'd washed some coke up and smoked it, but I'd left the bicarb, I'd left the spoon, I'd left everything lying out in my kitchen beside his phone and his keys. When he came back from Spain, he got my spare key from my mum, went into my flat and found all this, and that was his first kind of idea that the kind of double. It wasn't even a double life, because the double life was the stuff I was doing, you know what I mean? It was a double life with a bit added onto it.
You could hardly say you're making cakes.
No, that's right. And so I'm then driven by the fear, because I'm in Blackpool, I'm drinking for a few days down there. Everybody was coming back on the Monday. I decided I wasn't coming back on the Monday. Didn't come back to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I've come back up the road and he was sitting waiting on me at Glasgow Central Station. So and you might have experienced this as well, because although he was my young brother, he was the sensible one out of 2 years. And then I was put into lockdown. Anybody who sold coke in the scheme was told, don't give him any of that stuff, because I'll fall out with you, he'll no pay you, etc, etc. So I was then in the dark of night jumping out of windows to go and say to boys, well, I'm here, you better give me it, and just all crap stuff, and that's the way it went. And I managed to stop taking it. I managed to stop taking it because it's all a psychological thing with crack. There's no physical withdrawals or anything.
No.
I hear of people saying, "Oh, I was drawn off a coke," or you don't actually do that. It's a psychological thing. So if you can sort that out. So I was able to stop it for a time, and then as the noughties came, 2001, I stopped drinking and that as well, and I tidied my life up. You know, I kind of left that life behind.
Just going back a bit then, you're on these intense missions, large amounts of cash, large amounts of drugs. You've got this enhanced paranoia. How did you reconcile that while you were on a mission?
Well, this was the thing, right? So I used to either get a train or a bus or fly down and get a train or a bus back. And my best thinking was, I can't wait till I get over the border, because if I'm getting arrested, I want to get arrested in Scotland. No, because I don't want arrested in England. You know, was my best thing. I can remember one time when I got phoned and asked, could I get some hill walking clothes on very quickly? We need you to do a wee job for us. So I've got the boots and the hill walking jacket and that on, and I went. And I picked up a rucksack, and the rucksack had 350 grand in the rucksack. And I was took to the train station, put on a train. I told somebody would meet me at Euston. And I know. So, but I was in one of the, at the time, I don't think you can do it anymore, but you go up to the wee steward on the train and you give him 50 quid and he'll give you a wee compartment, because nobody was. So I had this wee bed and all that on the sleeper in the train, but I've got my stuff, so I'm sniffing. I'm starting to get that. I know they're outside the corridor, just waiting to come in. I'm phoning ahead to London because I know a couple of boys that are working, straight guys working on the railway down there working. I'm coming into Euston. Meet me at Euston. The thought entered my head on that particular. Could I get away with stealing this bag? You know what I mean? Could I get away with it? I couldn't have got away with it, you know what I mean? But that was it. I met the guy. The guy met me at the train station. A Scottish guy. I knew the guy that was meeting me. And I just gave him the bag. I went one way, he went the other way. I went and met the guys who worked down here. They took me to an early morning place that sold drink. And that was it, back on the party again, you know. And
you made the right move, otherwise you wouldn't be here today, would you, speak?
Absolutely not, man.
What was the craziest thing you ever did through paranoia?
Again, it's winding forward to, so the psychosis thing. Whether it would be in Glasgow, I always thought the police were coming to get me, whether I was actively doing something or whether they weren't, whether I wasn't. And I was always, you know, because I don't know what you call it down here, but there's a thing where you're on the stuff, you're in the flat yourself, you know they're outside, they're in the garden, so you go to the window and you look. Do you get this?
Yeah.
Right? So you go to the window and you're like that, no, and they're not there. They've moved, they must be at the other window, so you go into the other window. So in this flat I stayed in, it's 7 or 8, it was a big corner, getting bottom flat garden. And it had about 7 or 8 windows, so I'm moving from window to window, right? And it starts off at 10 o'clock at night. By 6 o'clock in the morning,
I'd be looking under the door where the gap is there. If it gets a bit dark there, or to see a shadow,
that's it.
the back comes out.
But I was boiling kettles, had a big knife, and I can remember seeing them in the bushes, so thinking, fuck it, they're coming anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going. So I went out shouting at them.
Come on then, come on.
Come on, if you come. No,
I've done that to cactuses.
I've done it in the jungle in India as well. So I'm shouting, come on, I know you're there. Thinking, I'll go and drive down. So yeah, I'm talking like 100 yards, no, get in my car, drive down. The bush that I know they're in, by the time you get to the bush,
it's a bush.
It's a bush. They're like, they're fly there. You
Fast
know what
bastards,
I mean?
aren't they?
Drive back round. As soon as you park the car again, they're back in the same fucking bush, man. You're like that. And get in the close and then just pop your head back out, because you know they're going to be running up the path to come and get you. I would leave. I would put traps.
Traps? What kind of traps?
I would have broken glass, tacks, anything that would make a noise, you know what I mean? But also that you would find I would find myself in the toilet with the stuff. I would have wrote a text out to send to my mate to say that's them live here.
Yeah.
So the text is there ready to send, to press send, and you've spent 5 hours in the toilet just waiting to flush the stuff down the toilet.
Toilet, just like...
Aye, and that flat I was in, it had 12 houses in the close, we call it up there. So if you're starting at 10 o'clock at night, people are starting to move about come the morning, and that makes it worse because you hear the postman, you hear the guy upstairs going to his work, you hear the woman going to her work, and then the wains are got to school. When it dragged on, so that was regular. And I would do that on the Tuesday night, and knowing fine well that's what was going to happen on the Wednesday. I couldn't stop myself from doing it again. It was.
Did you feel that you needed to get weapons at any point to defend yourself against the enemies?
All the time. I was weapons, big knives, bats. Were dotted all over the place. I'd go to bed with a knife. Continually boiling a kettle. Ridiculous.
I'd smashed so many crack pipes, just paranoid. Even the ones where I had one where I'd had it for like 3 months, and it was like what I call chocolate crack. If I'd have pushed it and scraped it, it comes out all like brownish, but it's like you get a really good hit off it. You know what I mean?
That,
but I decided with the crack, it's just that your first big hit is your only hit.
Aye.
You're just chasing that. So I'd just do one really big hit, and I'd have like 10 cans of special brew and get me head there.
10 cans of special brew would kill me anyway. Aye.
So what made you want to leave the country?
So what happened was in 2001, I stopped drinking. When I stopped drinking, I was totally clean. I wasn't taking any drugs. I went back to college and done an introduction to counselling course, and then I done a certificate in counselling skills, and then I got a job in, and this will seem dead ironic to anybody watching this who doesn't know me, but I got a job first of all in residential childcare with Glasgow Social Work Department, and then I got another job with the Social Work Department and the addiction services. So I was the young person's addiction worker.
Well, who better to do it? You've been through it.
Aye, absolutely. And at one point that dawned on me. You've been given a job here to try and stop these young guys turning out like you. And that was great. So by 2001 I was clean. 2002 I had a job in social work. Start of 2003 I had my dream job working in addiction, because that's what I'd set out to do.
Yeah. Well, that keeps you off as well, doesn't it?
Aye. Well, it did all that as well. I'm going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. I'm identifying as being an alcoholic. And then in 2004, my brother was murdered, and my full life.
What?
My full life collapsed.
It will do.
Right in on top of me.
What was the circumstances there?
Again, it was we are now 15 years down the line, and nobody's ever been found guilty of his murder. There was a trial in the High Court that one guy was found not proven. We've got a not proven verdict in Scotland where it's basically they believe you're guilty, but there's not enough evidence for them to say guilty. So we've got not guilty, guilty and not proven. You can be retried on a not proven.
If you get a not proven, do you not have to do any prison time?
No, not proven. You're acquitted on a not proven.
Is that the same as pleading the fifth?
No, it's
remaining silent.
It's actually a verdict that is doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And this is what I know, right? I know, having been brought up in a scheme, having been...
They don't have judges in Scotland, don't they? Have proctors or something, don't they?
No, in the High Court we've got a judge.
Oh, right.
So the High Court's a judge and a jury.
Yeah.
So my brother's trial was a judge and a jury. There was 13 on the jury. So what that means is 6 couldn't find the guy guilty, and 6 couldn't find him. 7 couldn't find him guilty, and 7 couldn't find him innocent. So there was it was more or less hung. So we've got a thing up there called not proven, which is anybody who I know, having grew up, who ever got a not proven verdict was guilty. There was never. I didn't know anybody innocent who got a not proven.
They just paid someone.
Do you think this guy actually did it then?
I don't know if he actually did it, but I've no doubt whatsoever, and I touch on it in my second book, that he knows what happened. Definitely what happened to my brother.
Are you okay to say what happened?
My brother was he was due to stand trial on a international smuggling thing. Colombia, Antigua, Belgium, Britain, and he was co-accused with this guy. Just before the trial, my brother was found in a field with his throat cut, stabbed 13 times in the back. The trial collapsed. They re-indicted some of the co-accused, and the guy who was my brother's original co-accused was found not proven in that trial. 10 years later, he was charged with my brother's murder and found not proven in that case as well.
So that was just to frustrate legal process, was it?
Totally.
Bloody hell.
It's not a good verdict. It's a verdict that they should be looking into scrapping.
Did they have like a very good solicitor, or I mean?
The guy who was found not proven of the charge had one of the best QCs, Queen's Counsel, in Scotland.
Money talks.
Money talks. This guy's on $2,000 a day. Derek Ogg's his name. Derek Ogg had been the same guy who got him not proven on the smuggling thing. The connection between this guy and my brother was the two of them were co-accused in an international smuggling trial, but that evidence wasn't allowed to be led in the murder trial. So the link between my brother and this guy that the prosecution was trying to make was very tenuous, and then they end up the jury. They weren't sure.
You said the smuggling ring had tentacles in Colombia. Was some of that money then cartel money that was coming in to finance the legal team?
No, this guy, his money, during the initial trial that collapsed, they had brought a witness for Colombia, but he appeared behind a screen. So it could have been you speaking with a Spanish accent, as far as I was concerned. You know what I mean? They brought this guy, and he was some supergrass that they were taking all around, because he was grassing people in trials all over the place. But the guy who was eventually found not proven of the murder, I think he'd business connections, and he could speak fluent Spanish and all that, so I don't really know, you know what I mean? I don't know what happened the day my brother was murdered, but I don't believe that there's any smoke without fire when it comes to something like that.
So when you got the news that this had happened, how old are you, where were you, and what went through your head?
So here's the thing, right? I was when that happened, I was 39. I was working in the social work department in Glasgow, and I was actually in Liverpool training, and I got a phone call from my brother's wife saying, asking if he was with me, and I says, no, I'm down in Liverpool. Okay, it doesn't matter, it's fine. I came home the next day and I went and saw my sister-in-law, and my brother, he hadn't come home, and he was missing. He was a missing person for 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks they found him in a field, and so that was it was a big shitty mess, and
sounds it was horrifying to go through that.
You know, and it just, I allowed it to drive me crazy. You know, I allowed it to be obsessed over the thought.
Any point you felt revenge?
I I suppose it might have.
But you didn't know who to revenge.
But I popped into me. But that was the thing, you know, because I knew there was, you know, there's a few people probably aware of it. Because there was another co-accused in the trial who the case was deserted against him after the prosecution case. I think when there's drugs to the value of 6 zeros after any number, life becomes...
Immaterial.
Aye, life becomes pretty cheap, doesn't it?
Yeah. Very.
So I obsessed on that, and the obsession on that meant I left social work. I had a bit of a breakdown. I ended up started off smoking dope again, having a wee line of coke.
Did the whole circle.
And then before you know it, I'm back on the pipe.
When you said you had a breakdown, what were the symptoms of your breakdown other than reaching for drugs?
Basically isolation. You know, I couldn't. I was driven with this fear. I was in this long tunnel. I felt as if I had this pressure on the top of my head. Everything was grey. At the time, I wouldn't have said it was depression, but I knew it was. You know, I know.
I felt like that one was unsentenced. When I was waiting to be sentenced, I felt like I was in the tunnel. I couldn't see no light. It's only till I got me 8 years that I actually see in the light.
Yeah, like that, aye.
You know. I hope you get justice for your brother, by the way.
Aye, thanks. Aye.
So you're going back into the dark realm now of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And then how many years before you end up in India?
So that was 2004. He was killed. The 2005 I left social work. End of 2005. 2005 was okay. In the end of 2005, post-traumatic stress hit me. And I got up at the new year, getting into 2006, and I didn't want to go out of my bed. I didn't want to leave the house. I was in a relationship that broke down because of me, my behaviour. My relationships with all the people that cared about me. I built this wall round about myself. Isolation was a big part of it. But isolation's a big part of addiction as well, isn't it?
God, yeah.
So I was isolating myself. I'm back on the stuff, and then I'm starting to sell smaller bits to. If I didn't pay for a lot of the stuff I got, or I was selling bits to take bits. And 2008, I decided that I was going travelling in India.
Why India?
India kind of dated back to the time, in 1993, me and my brother, we went to Goa for the trance stuff, jungle parties and pills, and it was great. I went back in 94, we're a bit more of the same. So when he died, I'd went to India on holiday, and I'd met a couple of guys, and they told me what they were doing to make some money to stay there, and I thought, I'm going to go back there and do a bit of that.
Yeah.
So I went in 2008. I started up in the north, went into Rajasthan, Punjab, New Delhi, right down into Kerala in the south of India, and ended up in Goa. And I had a few months on the beach, and it was great, you know.
What are these Goa parties like? What's so special about them?
They were, they don't really happen anymore, but they were. So you picture it, it's an open air thing. It's a very deep bass line with electronic get through the thing, and I saw you doing a wee impersonation of that. The drugs were good. There was no atmosphere. Everybody was just all dancing, and it was very tribal as well, because you're in the jungle.
Yeah.
Nobody's got Ralph Lauren stuff on or anything like that. It was.
Is it people from all over the world united?
All over, man. Aye. When we first got there in '93, there was quite a big Israeli thing at the raves, but loads of British, French, Spanish. Later years, the kind of Russians have took over Goa, so it's
There's no racial stuff to it, is there? There's no like he's gay or he's that or
No.
colour. I hate him.
It's
He's black. He's
very libertarian.
Everyone's united.
It was anything went, and it was great. It was absolutely brilliant. And probably right up until, I don't know, I was there 2004 he died. I was there in 2005, and I think I was at a couple of raves in 2005, and then pretty much that was it, because by then, unknown to me, that there was Nigerians washing the coke up, and so you could buy crack there, and it was so that was my go-to drug again.
What were the pills like though, the ecstasy and Goa?
No, it was all good stuff. But the first year we went, I can remember the capsules that we were speaking about, and getting 100 of them and emptying them out and getting them down the front of my trousers, and just walking through with them, you know what I mean, and taking my own 100 with me.
So where are you walking through with them?
Where?
Yeah.
Into Turkey at first.
Into Turkey?
Turkey at first. Just
Isn't it like death penalty there for drugs?
I don't think they're not very keen on
Quite
it.
serious, isn't it?
Quite serious. And it was, so see, I says my brother was the sensible one of the two. He was also an idiot as well, right? He would drink and he would just be, and we were just in transit in Istanbul. So there was me, him, his wife, another guy who had been probably my best mate when I was growing up, had met us, he stays in Jersey, with his wife and another guy, and there ended up an argument in the queue, going through transit, not everybody's all just wanting to get through, and me and my brother ended up having this big argument, and he's actually nutted me. He's got 100 down the front of his trousers.
So he's assaulted you in the airport.
Oh!
I've got 100 down the front of my trousers.
You're not thinking, well, he's not thinking.
He was drunk, and I was, at that point I wasn't. And I felt my eye just shutting there. So that was...
Did that attract the authorities?
They came out and told us to behave ourselves. No, there was no...
I mean, brothers do fight. But now you'd get arrested for that, wouldn't you?
You would, you definitely would. And then we went for there. We flew into Bombay. And at the time in 1993, Bombay... when we were there, it would have been February 93, and it was on the tail end of some secular riots that was happening in India at the time. And I can remember Bombay. We had to go from one airport to the other airport and try and get a flight to Goa. And
so when you say secular riots, what do you mean by that? Like Sikhs versus Hindus or something?
Sikhs and Hindus, they'd had a problem. I think it's been an ongoing thing since 1984.
Because didn't a bodyguard, it's like a Sikh bodyguard, assassinate the leader? What
happened was Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister of India at the time, the Hindus and the Sikhs were having some problem, and she ordered the Golden Temple at Amritsar to be stormed by the Indian Army. It was called Operation Blue Star, so they pretty much destroyed their holy place. Two of her bodyguards who were Sikhs killed her. And so it's still ongoing, it's still an underlying thing there. So that was happening. I remember arriving and thinking, the smells. Have you read Shantaram?
Shantaram is the best book ever written by someone who's been to prison. So if you're watching this and you want a good book written by an ex-con, Shantaram, absolutely superb. I mean, you go to India, he takes you right there. He's on the run from Australia in the slums. Because he's educated, they think he's a doctor, and he just falls into the role. And I wanted to move to the slums of India after reading that.
Read this man's book first, though.
Please.
Yeah.
Please do. I read Shantaram and
2 books, actually. And the link is in the description box below this video. So please support James.
Thank you.
Worldwide on paperback and ebook.
I read Shantaram in prison in India, and I can remember reading Shantaram, because Shantaram's...
I've never read it. I'm going to get it.
It's a cracking book, right? But it's 900 pages. It's a tome as well. You know what I mean? It's a big book. And as the years went on, he's kind of David Gregory Roberts, the guy who wrote it, is he's saying, well, that didn't really happen, and that didn't really happen, and
Because it's a roman of clay, isn't
Aye,
it? Which
aye.
means you take real stories and weave a fictional story around
Aye.
them.
So that's what he's done, which is great. But I'm lying, done a lot of lying in my back in jail in India, and I'm lying reading this book, and next thing, the tears are running down my face. Somebody's like, I've been okay, and I'm saying, this book is great, and they just do that. They just couldn't understand. He's reading a book and he's crying, and he says it's a great book.
I've actually had a book that did that too. I was reading, it was a big book too, James Clavell, the Shogun.
Aye,
I don't know what it is, you just get into it so
Aye,
much.
that's right, aye.
I mean, that's about 1,400 pages, and then I got to a stage where I read about 150 pages a day. I wouldn't get off my bunk bed, I'd just be like fascinated with it.
Aye,
You
I've
know
read
what I mean?
Shogun as well. Aye, it's
That's
a
one of my
good book.
dad's favourite books, Shogun.
And the King Rat's good as well.
Yeah.
I've
Thing that
read
got-
all of his books.
thing that got me teary-eyed is watching The Road. Cormac McCarthy wrote a book, The Road, and like a post-apocalyptic world, and the father and the son, and there's like cannibal people and everything around. It's like, yeah. But going back to your story, you're at the good time in Goa,
Uh-huh.
and how's it gonna get bad?
So what happened was, I went back. The first signs that it was going to get bad were 2007. I went back. Loads of my friends were there. They were there. I flew back for 2 weeks. I brought something back.
Yeah.
Flew back again. Went and got my mum. Flew back again. My mum stayed for 2 weeks, but I ended up back on the pipe at this point. And I ended up, I was there for about 13 weeks. Everybody left. The girlfriend that I was with, she stayed a bit longer. She left, and I was sending stuff back, and I was on the pipe, and it was horrendous. Because by this point, I was with another couple of guys. It would be getting woke up for your breakfast, and that sort
Yeah.
of stuff, and then if you found out they had breakfast together, and I mean by a breakfast as a pipe, if you found out they had breakfast together and you hadn't been invited, and it was a big shitty mess, and it was just a big.
Their rocks are bigger than mine. How come I'm getting the small rock?
And rocks gone missing and
Yeah.
all that stuff, and it was horrible. And we were all Scottish, you know what I mean? It was
Let me check under your nails. You're hiding that rock,
Aye, it was
aren't you?
just like, why are they behind the curtain?
Yeah.
The fans going out with the curtain, and
Oh, the fans are the worst. The ceiling fans. You catches your eye, doesn't it?
that was the that was the 13 weeks, and I can remember because by this point I'm taking loads of Valium. So I'm high as a kite, loads of Valium, nitrazepam, which is a sleeping tablet as well. I lost my phone. I could only remember one phone number, and this was the guy I used to always phone. And then I phoned him this time, and he says, "Look, Linda, the last I was seeing says you have to come home. No, everything will be all right." And I thought, right, okay, I'm going to try and get back. And I remember I arrived back in Glasgow Airport. This is 2007. And I couldn't remember my address. My luggage or my rucksack hadn't come through. And when I was saying what's your address, and I've had to look at it because I couldn't remember. I couldn't speak properly because of the Valium. And I was in a terrible mess, but she kind of nursed me back to health. And but by that point I knew that I couldn't live in Glasgow, I knew that I had to get back. I had to get back to India. I was being driven by selfishness. I had to get back to get away from the mess that was in Scotland.
Well, you say selfishness, but you've lost half your family,
Yeah.
so there's more to it than selfishness.
Aye, but
yeah.
But the other half of the family had also lost half of their family as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the selfishness came out of the fact that my mum had lost her husband when I was 10. She'd lost her son when I was 39.
Your mum probably needed you around, didn't she?
Absolutely, no. And my son.
You never thought, you don't think about that though, do you?
No,
You
you
just think,
didn't, you know what I mean? Because it was all about me. It was about my brother.
yeah.
And I talk about, because I then portrayed myself as being the victim. I wore this victim's badge, and my brother's been murdered and I'll behave whatever way I want. And that's pretty selfish. That's selfish to the core. So that's what happened. 2007, I just had one eye on what can I do to get away from here, you know, and I managed to get some money together. And the plan was just to go and travel for 6 months. But I was abandoning my son. I was abandoning my mum. You know, I was running away, but running away from the way I felt, not realising that I was taking that with me wherever I went, you know, so that's what happened.
So you took your pain over to India. You're going to travel and kind of work through it. Is that your hope?
Basically just travel, you know, and send me bits of stuff back here just to kind of subsidise.
So that was your work. You wasn't going to like pick fields and.
No, I took some. We had some money. Me and the boy who was my working partner.
Yeah.
Me and the boy who was my smoking crack partner. My mate. He'd been my mate for a long time. He'd suffered when my brother was killed as well. The two of us went. I had the knowledge. I let him in the knowledge, and the two of us stayed for 6 months, and we had a cracking time. But also we had some dark times during that 6 months as well.
It's good that there's 2 years though.
Absolutely, aye, you know, and it was more therapeutic for him than when he met a girl. The two of us come back in early 2009, March 2009. He had met this girl, and I knew I had to get away again, you know, and I lasted 3 weeks in Glasgow, and I flew back to India.
You said there was dark times. What was the darkest thing that happened there?
The dark times was just back on the pipe, you know. It was back on that, and the risks we were taking. You know, because any of the stuff I done in India, I was never going to make millions of money out of it. You know, I was going to make enough to pay the bills that I'd accrued, and go and buy more of the stuff that I was using to run away from myself.
You said you were sending stuff back, but what exactly were you buying cheap there and sending here?
Sending Valium back.
Valium. What would Valium cost?
I can't really remember. It's a few years ago now, but they were pennies. You know, they were. I think you get 1,000 for 90 quid or something like that.
And what would your profit be on that?
I was just getting it to my boy, and he was selling them for £1 a go, or
so
there was a good profit on it. You know what I mean?
So the Samazipans, they'd go for £1.50 a go.
£1 a go.
So this is financing what you're doing over there?
This was financing me staying there.
So you could have actually made money if you wasn't getting cracked out.
Absolutely, but I was also sending small bits of hash back.
Yeah.
You know, like 200 grams in the post and stuff like that. You know, if you send enough of them, they all add up. That was the.
And are you aware of the consequences in that country if you were to get caught doing any of this?
Absolutely, I was, but I had this belief that I'm never going to get caught, you know, it's no...
We were joking, we're above the law, they're never going to catch us, we're too smart for the police, blah, blah, blah.
That was the thing. So when I'm back, you know, and you used to have probably got it as well, I'm sure you have, well, if I had made that decision...
Didn't make the right decision, yeah.
You know, after your life probably, but so when I went back in 2009, I went back in April, and first thing I done was went and got a couple of small bits of hash to send back, and I had two options. My options were a Nigerian guy who had been getting stuff for previous, or a young Goan guy, a young Indian boy, who had been getting stuff for previous as well. And there was something about the Nigerian boy that I didn't trust.
Yeah.
I thought, no, I don't trust you, and I had this feeling in my stomach, and I went, the day I got arrested, I went to the Goan boy, and he was working with police.
So your instinct was wrong.
My instinct was rubbish. I knew something was
up.
Well,
it was right, but you didn't know which one. It was 50-50 on it, you chose the wrong one.
Can you take us through the day of your arrest?
Mm-hmm. So it was a Saturday, and I don't know if this will resonate with any of you as well, right? But on the Friday when I was supposed to go and get it, the boy cancelled on me. Leave it to tomorrow. You know, and with hindsight...
There's an omen.
You know, so with hindsight, when I think other things that I've known about or experienced in the past, when anything like that happens, it's happening for a reason, and the reason's never good. So Saturday morning I got up, I went and got a taxi, and we travelled about an hour, whatever, for the south of Goa where I was staying, a bit longer than an hour, up to North Goa. The boy knew I was coming. We went into his wee room. He had a wee room at his auntie's. This boy comes for a family with money, with a big restaurant and that, and Goa. So we went into this wee room. He had the cold, right? So I'm saying to him, you taking that stuff? I've got a Russian girlfriend and she likes the stuff, and so we take some stuff. And I knew that I'm saying there's something shady about him. He took a phone call when I was there, and he spoke in Konkani, which is the local Goan language. So it's no Hindi, it's a Portuguese Indian mix. And
Like a slang.
It is an actual recognised language, but it's very, very guttural, and you know, it's very spoken very quickly, and I don't understand very much yet. And he's gave me the bag, and I was buying 3 kilos, and I also bought 400 grams of stuff for myself that was better for smoking. And I can remember when I left the place, there was an Indian drove by on a scooter, and he's looked at me like that when he went past, and I thought, you're looking at on. Probably the Glaswegian came out in me, and I'm thinking, who's he looking at? But I got into the taxi, the guy was waiting on me, we got into the taxi and we drove away. And about 10 minutes down the road, in the side mirror, I saw a police jeep, and I thought, oh, so I've got my eye on the police jeep, but it's come out and it's overtook the traffic behind me and overtook us, and I relaxed a wee bit. But we're on this, it was like a busy dual carriageway, and we got to a bit where there was speed breakers. So the taxi I was in was like a high-ace van, you know, the kind of wee thing with the wheels aren't very big, and so they almost stopped when they were going on these speed breakers. Aye. So we stopped. Next thing, this Indian guy swaggered out and staggered in front of the car, and I thought, be careful, you're going to get ran over. And he kind of stood like that, and then I saw these other Indians just appearing, and they swooped on the car. By this point, the tunnel came back. Everything went all cartoon colours for me. I couldn't kind of hear right. It was a wee bit of shock. And I thought, you're caught. They took the driver out the taxi. They took me from the front, threw me in the back. So the bag's under the front seat. They took me, threw me in the back, and just drove away. So that was the arrest. You know, there was no arrest scene. There was no any exhibits took you the scene or anything like that. They just took me straight into Panjim.
Were any of those in uniforms?
No, nobody was in uniform.
So did you possibly think you were getting kidnapped or something at some point?
I kind of got the feeling it was the police, and they maybe even shouted police. So I can.
You're fortunate it was, and not getting kidnapped, really.
Absolutely, aye, as it transpires. Aye. See, to be honest, but I think if any kidnapping that's happening there, it's the police that do it as well, anyway.
Same in Mexico.
So they drove the 10 minutes into the city centre. Took me out and then took me into the main police station. Into an office in the main police station. And I thought, right, that's it, you're caught, no, and so all I'm hearing is foreigner, drugs, you know, and amongst all this language that I don't understand any.
Could you not buy yourself out?
Well, they At first there was no mention of money. They took me and they put me into this dungeon, and this guy came along, introduced himself as being the boss,
Yeah.
and told me if I gave him $10,000, that he would make my case disappear. But by that point I'm in the police station, I've been booked in, there's 50 policemen been in and out and looking at me.
You don't know who the hell this guy is.
I don't know who he is. And to be honest, I would have had to have took time to get to $10,000 anyway, you know what I mean? I couldn't have says, go back, I've got it in my room.
What's an Indian police station like? What does it look like? Have you got the bars on the doors and things like that? Razor wire?
No, the actual police station where I was kept for the first week was a dungeon. There was bars on the instead of a door.
Mm-hmm.
There was a window about 10 feet high, just a window just big enough to let all the mosquitoes in when it got dark. Then there was like a small concrete step is where you slept, on the step.
Did you have a shower or like in a big skull? You have like a hose, literally a hose coming out the wall like that, and that's your shower.
What they had was another room, and in the other room there was a hole in the ground for the toilet.
Yeah.
Beside that there was a wash hand basin, and then there was another part of it that had a tap coming out the wall in a bucket. So that was your shower. When they used to say you have a bath, was just a bucket.
Yeah.
But the place was covered in shit. It was covered in blood.
People getting beat down.
It was covered in, they chew tobacco stuff out there and they just spit it. And so the place was clatty, you know what I mean? It was.
What about the heat?
It was really, really, really. Well, I got arrested on the 23rd of May. The monsoon comes the second week in June, so the heat was just soaring.
Oh, humidity.
It was humid. It was terrible. You were actually, and I saw you speaking about it as well. You know, you've just got that layers of, you know, your skin is practically peeling with it.
You're shining, aren't you? Perfectly shiny.
You know, and that prickly heat on any of your joints, just because you're moving, that was terrible. But the first night, something happened to me.
Have you got cellmates at this point or anything?
At this point, no. At this point, I didn't have anybody when they first put me in. I'm in this room, and then they've came and they've took me along into their wee office, where they're all playing at cards and they're having some laugh.
Yeah.
It's like a scene out of Banged Up Abroad, isn't it?
Honest to God, that's exactly what, because obviously by this point I've watched Banged Up Abroad, no, and all I could think was, oh no, I'm banged up abroad, no. I was thinking that. I don't really know what's happened. I know that it's down to this wee Indian guy. Mm-hmm. So they came. I got arrested about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They came about 7, just as it was getting dark, and took me and drove me back to my apartment, which is about an hour's drive, to search the apartment. They didn't find anything in the apartment, but they took my clothes, they took the money that I had there, which wasn't a lot of money. They took, I like to entertain, so I had bottles of whiskey and vodka, although I didn't drink myself. But,
yeah.
They were bouncing on my bed and they had the air conditioning on, and it was like, it was like a Carry On movie. And what they also done, which was rubbish of them as it transpires, but they took my passport, and when they charged me, they said that I had my passport in my pocket when I was arrested, so they attached the passport to the exhibits in my case.
Oh.
So when I eventually got bail, I didn't have a passport. My passport was part of the productions and the evidence. So, but when we went back to the police station, I had 2 cellmates. One was a young guy, and one was an older going guy. The old guy was just a poor soul, the young guy he thought it was a laugh, no, because he was in for stealing a mobile phone or something like that.
Not going to be in long.
No.
Taking it as a joke.
Aye. And on reflection, it probably wasn't his first time, you know what I mean? Because it was when they were wanting to question and where I was from and what was all the stuff.
Was there any like vent system or anything, or fans?
No, all that was there was the gated bars. The door led into a corridor, and along at the end of the corridor was a wee row of stairs, and it took you outside. So there wasn't much air coming at all. There wasn't much air coming there, because when it rained, and it was starting to rain on and off, then you would get a wee bit of respite for the heat.
Have they fed you by now?
No. What happened was the police went out and brought me back a couple of samosas, and that was them telling me they were doing me a good turn, and they were the good guys. So that was that. Was my...
You're lucky to get anything, aren't you, really? I know
absolutely.
In Mexico, they'll give you a bit of a bowl of beans and rice, but other than that, you're not getting anything.
No.
You have to have family will come in and give you your food. And there's nothing worse. You can be sat there with your beans and rice, and the guy next to you sat there with, like, burritos and enchiladas and everything his ma's cooked him, and it smells fit.
You could have just took it off of me.
Plead the fifth.
So you've been nabbed. You're a Westerner. They're looking at you as a meal ticket.
Absolutely.
They've secured your passport, so the meal ticket can't escape. So what happens next?
So that was the Saturday. On the Sunday, they came and got me back out of the dungeon to take me back along to the office, and I saw one of the local newspapers line that says, a foreigner, Scotsman, arrested at Shapora bus stop with a bag, taken it to a prospective customer. And I was like, what's that? That's not what happened. And they were like, because they came and said to me, where did you get the drugs? And I'm saying, I'm not telling you. They were like, okay. I'm thinking, well, where's the interrogation? There was no interrogation, and none of it made sense. The next day I saw this headline, and I've says to the arresting officer, what's that? He says, oh, that's just a story, we don't make the stories.
They've embellished that, haven't they?
I was like, fine. So as it transpired, they done me a big favour by embellishing it.
Because it's in the country, then it's not international.
No, basically, so Seaweeder says he went and bought the drugs for this boy. We arrested him in a taxi. Then they had a taxi driver as a witness, and they would have been able to prove that because it was pretty much the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what they says was that, acting on reliable information, I was coming with 3 kilos of charas to sell to a prospective customer. They were all hiding at a bus stop waiting to me walk on foot. So the crime scene wasn't where it had actually happened. I had been buying, they said I was selling. And it wasn't until I'd lay in prison for almost a year that it all became apparent what had actually happened,
Yeah.
And it was all down to the fact that any drugs that had been seized in Goa, the police were the ones who were supposed to destroy the drugs.
And they obviously don't. They just
so
snack it out.
So they don't, and
They redistribute them.
they just redistribute them, and then every now and again somebody will say, there's a fat foreigner, let's take everything off of him. And I was the fat foreigner at that point, so.
Pablo Escobar had a deal with the police where he'd say, go and raid this warehouse and invite the news and make your headlines and get your promotions. And then after all the media had left, Pablo just shipped the drugs to America and sell them.
Anyway, so that was the. I'm thinking, why are they not coming? Because they beat you with their bamboo canes. That's.
You got beat?
No, I never got beat. So I'm thinking, when is the beating happening?
Yeah.
When are they going to come and beat the soles of my feet till I'm crying, telling them where I got the drugs? And it never ever came, and I'm thinking...
You almost sound disappointed. He is the elder.
S&M.
Yes, and
Tasers and...
I was thinking, well, I put a bit of that in the book, but it didn't happen, so the book's
Yeah.
good, you know. Aye, so that's...
They were giving you reflexology instead.
Yeah.
That was the wee Japanese boy, but aye, there was a lot of that happened in the jail.
All right, so how long are you in the jail on remand?
I was on remand for 11 months.
Bloody hell. So you're in that dungeon for 11 months?
No, sorry, I was in that police station for a week.
A week?
I then appeared in front of the judge who remanded me to judicial custody.
What's it like, an Indian courtroom?
So I don't know, people our age would be able to remember.
Did they have the flag at the back?
No, there was no flag. It was, there was the policemen had flip-flops on. They had the odd one had a bamboo stick.
Yeah.
So all the cases are all getting, there was no kind of order to it all.
Are you behind glass or yeah?
No, absolutely nothing, man. And
Yeah.
if you go into my social media, I've got some pictures of the judge who eventually acquitted me, and I've got some pictures of the court. It's quite old looking, because it is quite old, and
Yeah.
the monsoon ravages the place as well. And the policemen who are going to give evidence against you, they're sitting all through the trial to hear what all the rest of the evidence is. The full setup is, what happens is the arresting officer in your case, he writes out what happened, right? So he says, James Toner, acting on specific and reliable information, was coming to this bus stop. We were hiding. We jumped to it. We arrested him. We asked him, did they have anything to say? Did they mind to be searched and stuff like that? He writes out the false statement, which is called the Panchanama. So that's basically the charges against you are the Panchanama. And then all the policemen who have not even been there anyway, they all do another Panchanama to say what the first policeman said is the truth. So the other policemen aren't getting their version of events. They're just saying what he's saying is true. So...
Yes, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? So there's only one lot of evidence, really,
Yeah.
on the arrest. They take an independent person to the arrest scene. So the independent guy in my case was a 21-year-old student. So when it came to him being cross-examined, he's having to relay a story that didn't actually happen. So he's going to have to be pretty sharp, because the lawyer is sharp.
Yeah,
So he ended up getting caught telling about a dozen lies during these, and there was absolutely nothing about perjury or, and he was told, come back next week, and he didn't turn up, and then, because I appeared in court 100 times in a 4-year period. 100 times.
Isn't there some law in India you've got to see a judge every so many weeks or something?
Aye, you've got to see that. So the first part of it is every 2 weeks when you're on.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks when you're on remand. But what'll happen is, and what happened in my case, so I was appearing in the NDPS court, which is the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Court. There only is one judge. So that one judge deals with all the drug cases. I'd been there about 2 or 3 weeks, and the judge moved to another department. So for about 3 or 4 months there wasn't a judge in the case. So all the cases in the drug court, they were just going up and getting remanded and sent back and remanded, and it was horrendous.
So if you've got to be there every 2 weeks, then so you just got to see the judge. Ours was every month at least. We were in there, but it was like a nightmare getting to court. They come and wake you up at midnight, and then they put in holding cells all day long. And by the time you get to court, you're just seeing things, and you're just so knackered, but you're nervous as well. What's going to happen today? So was it like that for you?
This is what, see, when you're on, they call it under trial. So we would call it remand. You're under trial. So when until your papers are served on you, which can take up to 6 months.
You're not guilty.
So it's the police who arrested you, who come every 2 weeks to take you to court.
Oh, you're arresting officers?
Your arresting officers come and take you to court. So they would say to me, "Why are you smiling?" And I'm like, "Because I smile, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why are you smiling?" And I'm like, "Well, I always smile. Don't look at me when you're smiling." Like, you're looking at me when I'm smiling, but you think it's funny. I'm like, "No, it's my nerves, you know what I mean?" And so they would come, but I never ever gave them any grief. So we would go to court and they would stop and they would buy me a wee samosa, a fresh lime soda. So it was all right, you know what I mean? It wasn't. And then they would say to me, "When your case is finished, come and work with us."
So on high as an informant.
Come and work with us. Like that. And what happens is, you get served your papers. You're actually getting charged. So the first few months you're not actually being officially charged. You get charged at court. They give you your papers, and then you know what their case against you is. And once that happens, it's the prison. It's the actual police who come and pick you up for court and for jail.
But the judge will see it that many times. He must know himself generally. As soon as you step in there and he reads the report, he knows whether you're being set up or whether you know what's going on. Couldn't the embassy do anything at this point?
The embassy were as useful as a chocolate fire guard.
Were they?
They were ridiculous. So I saw the British Consular Service.
Yeah.
The British Consular Tourist Assistance Office, they were called, where they were all going people. So in the 4 years I was going through a trial in India, I never saw one British person.
Wow. See, the embassy when I was in America would be very good, actually. I mean, I'd get letters via them from Kerry, and you'd get to send me money via Steve, Stu. They helped out quite. They even come and see me once.
I think the problem there was that so Goa is a small place, right?
Yeah.
So if a lot of them are called Rodriguez, D'Souza, all the kind of other ones in public service jobs, all the lawyers were all
Hernandez.
They were all Fernandez and all that. They were all Christian Catholic, right?
Oh yeah.
So if the policeman's called Fernandez and the lawyer's called Fernandez and the person for the consular service is called Fernandez, there's a good chance that they're all related, and if they're not related, somebody, because it's a small place. So what I found was that on the Monday, the policeman who arrested me turned up, first of all, with the consular service. They're speaking in Konkani in front of me and I don't understand any of it. So straight away, I don't trust these people.
No.
Because they're no, it's no somebody British. It's not somebody British speaking in my language. Then the policeman who arrested me has appeared with a guy for the lawyers who deal with all the foreigners as well. So it's just a big shitty mess. The system's a mess. Everybody, the lawyer, the police.
None of them are independent. They're all working in the same pocket.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean?
They're all getting paid by the same person, aren't they? At the end of the day.
People like you just creating jobs for them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So the judge was probably in on it as well.
Aye.
So how long is it then before you get moved over to the prison?
So after a week I get moved to another lockup, but it was a bigger lockup place. So I don't know whether it's going to be worse or whether it's going to be better or what.
It's always that uncertainty when you go to a new place.
So that's right. So I went there I got arrested on the Saturday, and then the following Saturday I got took to the
It could be any worse though, could it? At the end
the
of
first
the day?
jail. No, that's right. My concern was that, so I had the two guys in my cell, and then another guy came in and he was okay, but I didn't know in terms of inmates what they were going to be like when I got there, and whether
There's usually like a foreign community, isn't there, and a local community.
That's probably the way it kind of ended up as well.
That's how it ended up.
Aye. So my first day when I got there, I got processed. And it's nothing like a prison here. It's nothing like a prison in America. It's there's bars in the window, and do you remember Elias Smith and Jones? No, Alas Smith and Jones, the cowboy Elias Smith and Jones. The two of them had been promised an amnesty after the governor, and they were on the run. This is a cowboy thing for the 70s.
Oh, right.
But every now and again, one of them would get caught and the other one would break them out of the jail, tying the rope to his saddle and pulling the bars for the windy, you know.
Oh, so it's like the type of place you see like on Bonanza.
Exactly, man.
Yeah,
It was a bigger version.
Yeah,
of that, but that's exactly what it was like, you know what I mean? A jail in a western.
Yeah, exactly,
That's what getting processed, and I'm thinking, what is this?
So in America, processed fingerprints, mug shots, strip search.
Aye, so the fingerprints had been took in the police station, but when I got processed into the jail, basically it was no fingerprints, no mug shot, because that was another wee funny story as well. When I'd been in the police custody for a week, they came and says to me, "We're taking you for your photos." I was like, cool, so they've wrote my name and a number on a board. Took me along to the office, and then two of them stood up and says, "Come." So I'm not handcuffed, I've got flip-flops on. And they took me out the police station and along into a photo click shop. And I'm sitting in this photo click shop getting my pictures took. Well, we had to sit and wait on them getting developed. So seriously, that's how.
What about strip search?
No strip search. When I got arrested, there was no physical search when I got arrested. When I got to the jail, the old guy who was searching me. So the governor, you're right in front of the governor, or the jailer, they call him out there. He's sitting, and then there's the old guy, and he's searching me, and he's put his stick against the water to search me, and he's touching my balls and that, and so I've just stripped.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, and I'm like, well, you're touching it, you know, and I look. He's like, you put your clothes on, James Toner. I was like, stop touching me like that then. And that was it, you know.
Didn't try and put his finger in your bum.
No, absolutely none of that. No,
Good.
No,
We used to do that in Arizona. Rubber gloved finger up the arse. It was ruled unconstitutional. But we got arrested just after they'd stopped that.
Don't even lube it up, the bastards.
I don't even spit on it.
No.
Aye, so that was it. Gave me my blanket, a shitty pillow, a wee towel, a big bar of carbolic soap, and took me along and opened this cell door, and there was 25 Indian faces all just turned around and looked at me like that. And
25 locals.
That was me, aye.
No, you say carbolic soap, is that like the stuff your nanny used to have, like a big green bar?
That's exactly what it is.
I'd forgotten that existed.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
You got your nans and she always have it. Right next to that thing where you did dry the clothes.
Right, the mango.
Yeah.
So how did it feel walking in that cell in the sole Glaswegian?
So I'm full of, I don't know if it's fear, but I'm full of something anyway.
You fronted out, don't you?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Are they looking at you in a predatory way?
No, it was just because I was the only white face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this room anyway, and I went in and they've all looked at me, and this guy, a man, came out about my age. Turns out he's a bit younger than me, and I've says to him, he says, "My name's Didi," and he pointed to a small space in the corner.
That's where you live.
He says, "That's where you live. That's your space." Yeah. He says, "As people leave, we'll move you in." So I'm looking at this wee space in the corner, and I says to him, "My name's James," and he says to me, "Don't worry, James. We know your name. We've been waiting on you coming. If anybody wants to speak about your case, don't speak to anybody because we all know your case. It's been in the newspapers this week." So I thought, that's quite decent to him there, you know what I mean? That's,
see, if I'd have had that, I'd never gotten in any trouble.
Aye. So they'd, for a week, my story had been in the paper, unknown to me.
Yeah.
My case had been in the papers. They knew I was coming. They were wondering what they were going to do.
So you're not going to get a not guilty, are you?
Aye, so
Yeah.
well, as it transpired, I did. I was found not guilty at the end of a 4-year trial.
Wow. Did you get any comp for that?
No. I come down to Liverpool and I'm appearing on podcasts and I'm trying to sell a book to recoup some of
That's your
my
compensation, yeah.
So, 4 years unsentence?
No, so what happened was I that was May. That would have been the 30th of May when I got took to that place. I was there June, July, August, September, and the very end of September, I got transferred again to a bigger jail.
What was it like going in that one?
So by then I was quite comfortable in the full system.
Yeah.
I was getting dope in and I was stoned every day and
So when you say dope, what do you
hash.
mean?
So I was getting the hash and I was stoned pretty much every day. I knew who got sleeping tablets and I was able to get a wee sleeping tablet. And
How are you paying for that?
so I had people who had my mate had brought me our money. So somebody outside was holding my money. The guards would just go and meet somebody and somebody would give
Street
them,
to street.
you know, so it was, the guards are only on 60 or 70 quid a month wages, so they would have pretty much done anything for an extra bit of pie.
Were there any like big time gangsters in there manipulating the system?
There absolutely was, man. There was one guy. So at first we're in the yard on the very first day, and this guy said hello to me. My name's Ashpack, and I'm like, how you doing? My name's James. He's like, I know your name, and I'm like, so all these people know you and you don't know them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's and then this other guy came
And this
out.
ain't paranoia, it really is happening. You know
So
what I mean?
I had loads of wee moments of that because
Yeah.
this other guy came who was obviously an addict, and he came and he says to me, hello James, and I was like, hi, do you not remember me? And I'm like, no, I don't remember you. He says, I met you and your brother Martin back in the 90s, and I'm like, right. He says, and he told me the bar where he met me, and I'm like, so this wouldn't have been in the paper. So this guy, he must have known me for this bar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he must have known me for this bar, and he knew my brother had been killed. So people were then saw
You
me.
know an awful lot about you, like, don't they?
Honest to God, man, aye, it was. So this guy, he knows me. People saw me speaking to him. People saw me speaking to this guy Ashpack, who's a Muslim guy with a big long beard and a baldy head. Evil personified. You could see evil in this guy.
Like this guy.
He was like a shot caller.
He was the murderer. It was like what?
Like a shot caller, like
He was a shot caller.
The leader of the yard.
He was the guy he was definitely the guy in the jail. Shot caller. So other people were saying to me, don't speak to him. You know, he's not a nice guy, and as it transpired, he was running the show, and he was in for a murder. He'd been found not guilty in a few other murders, and he was part of the Bombay Mafia, this guy as well. So he was a horrible individual.
Good to know, though, while you're in there.
Yeah.
Good to know while you're in
So
there.
that's what I'm thinking. So I ended up, I was in this big horrible room that was like the transit room. So people were, every day somebody was getting released, and that can affect you as
He
well.
could get
can't
you to
it?
bed, I suppose.
So me and the Greek, there was a Greek guy came in, and me and the Greek guy ended up moving into this Ashback's room.
Yeah.
And he was horrible, man. So I wasn't scared of him. I was very wary of him, you know what I mean? But I wasn't scared of him. But unknown to me, the Greek guy's girlfriend had met some of this guy's goons outside, gave him money. He was going to help him escape and all stuff like that. And what happened was that once a week, they came, he put a request in, and you get using the international telephone, which was outside the jail in a shop.
Right.
So they would come and get you, either two young policemen or two old guys who were near the end of their time, and they would walk you around in the blazing hot sun, run into this international phone shop. So unknown to me, the Greek guy's girlfriend had given this Ashback money so as his men outside could help him escape. It was never going to happen.
No.
It was never going to happen. So he then got very frustrated about it, and he was always asking Ashback, and I've eventually said to him, what the fuck's happening here, you know what I mean, what's going on with you and him? And he told me, and Ashback's attitude towards him changed, and he became really nasty. Bear in mind, by this point we're in a room probably about this this wide and that long, and there was 9 of us, so we're
Nowhere to walk your temper off, is there?
nowhere to do anything at all, you know. We're all living on top of one another. Ashback would say to him stuff like, "Oh, my friend told me your girlfriend's got a lovely flat." You know, just that.
Just wind him up.
Just that stuff.
Yeah.
She's got a fantastic arse. And then he would say, "You shouldn't have introduced him to your girlfriend because..." No, so he put the fear of God into him as well.
Putting that doubt in as well.
It was horrible to watch.
Did you say he was a Greek guy?
The Greek guy was my friend, aye.
Yeah, so he didn't have much back then.
He didn't have any at all.
No, so it's just one of the many scams they run on
It was
foreigners.
absolutely rubbish, man. And I ended up saying to Ashback, the Indian guy, "Look, leave it out with him, please." He's like, "I'm going to end up beating him." I says, "Look, me and him will just leave the room. We'll leave you to it." But we had money to buy fruit and biscuits and everything, all the commodities that nobody else had, you know. And Ashback had money as well, so he would buy his stuff, we would buy our stuff, and our room was stocked, you know.
You'd have food.
We had food, and he didn't want us to leave in case he got somebody else that didn't have what we had and couldn't bring to the party type thing. So he says, like, "Oh, okay, I'll leave him."
Did they have stores, like prison stores?
No. We wrote a list out, and one of the guards would come and get everybody's list, and then you would go and pick it up once a few of them had been to the market.
Yeah, but I mean, like, actually in the prison, not like over there or in America, like an inmate he'd get a locker full of stuff and do it 2 for $3.
No,
No.
there was none of that. There was no. The only things that were getting sold was probably packs of tobacco.
Oh, right.
So and it was the poison stuff that cost ₹5, which is
Spitting tobacco.
Spitting tobacco, you know, and it's acrid smoke and poisoning them when they're smoking. But so they were buying that for ₹5 outside and selling it for ₹100 in there. You know,
It's horrible, that stuff, spitting tobacco.
Aye, it's not for smoking anyway. You know.
No, I mean, in Arizona, there's a lot of cowboys, and that's what they do. Big wads of it, and all you see, you know,
Aye.
walking around with
Well,
plastic cup.
they weren't spitting in a plant. They would just spit. No, that was.
Dirty kids.
So what Ashpack done was he just transferred his stuff for the Greek guy onto an Italian guy, and it was who was in the same room. So all the atmosphere was still there. And what happened was Ramadan came in 2009. All the Muslim guys at Ashpack's behest had moved into another room for Ramadan, and the atmosphere in their cell just changed, and it was so light, and it was good. You know, we were playing chess again, and boys were doing press ups during the day, and you know, and it was all right. The day before Eid, when Ramadan finishes, Ashback came and says to me, "I'm bringing another boy to the room." And I said, "You can't, man. There's 9 of us in the room."
Yeah.
And he says, "Don't worry, I'll put somebody out the room." And I says, "Don't bother, I'll leave." No, you stay. I says, "No, I'll leave." I says, "Look, you can't just put somebody out the room," because I knew he was going to pick on a wee Nepalese guy.
Yeah.
Who would have just went, and it wouldn't have been fair. And I says, "No, I'll go." So the next morning, he's came with this other boy, muscly boy, carrying his stuff. And when he came into the room, I stood up to pack my bag and fold my bed up. And he's like, "Oh, no, don't go." And I says, "No, I'm gone." And when I'd done that, I turned around and the Greek guy was folding his bed. The Japanese guy was folding his bed. And there was an Iranian guy. So the 4 of us have stood up to leave the room. And because of that happening, it was going to cost too much a hassle. So the Ashback's nose was put out of joint. He came back into the room and the other guy was sent away. It was so... The shot caller...
He wouldn't like that, though.
He absolutely hated it. The shot caller, I had challenged him. I had won the challenge. And then the next morning...
You might as well have bitch slapped him, really, hadn't you?
Honestly, God, that's the way I felt. And it gets this gets better, honestly, right? So, bearing in mind, this guy's... And he was a big boy, and he was... So, the next morning, I woke up, and he was packing his stuff. And he left his own room. He left the cell to move into it. So I'm thinking, fucking, what have I done now? So exercise that morning, exercise, you're wearing your flip-flops.
Yeah, but you put your boots on.
So I put my shoes on, and I'm thinking, if I can get his beard. No,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm in my head. I'm thinking, if I can just get his fucking beard, I'll bite his nose off or something.
He's not going anywhere, is he?
No, he's not going anywhere if I can get his beard. So I'm out, and the yard's tiny, you know what I mean? I'm walking around the yard.
Butterflies and
I'm
all
waiting on
that.
him coming. He didn't come out. I thought, wait, it must be the afternoon it's going to happen, right? So the afternoon I'm back in the yard, and I'm walking again, and he didn't come out. And this happened for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
2 weeks he didn't come out his room, and I swear on this is true. And then I would see him, he would be looking at his cell, and he would see me, and he would just move back away for the bars.
Might have seen his ass.
Aye. And what happened was, I would see him the times that we would have to pass one another, and I would make to say hello to him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he would just look away from me like that, and I'm thinking, what? Because he's a psychopath, you know what I mean? A total psychopath. And then before you know it, there was a transfer, and I got transferred to this big jail. And the next time I saw Ashback, he'd been transferred to the jail, and in the bigger jail there was all the local politics. It was nothing to do with me. His enemies were in the jail. He got battered with a hammer and a screwdriver, and he get shunted away to another wee jail. So, you know, he never got a chance to do whatever he was planning to do with me.
So he was just biding his time.
Yeah, he was definitely biding his time, aye.
You said he was clicked up with the Bombay Mafia. What is the Bombay Mafia?
So there's the Bombay Mafia are, you know, they run all the extortion, they run all the drugs, they're massive. I think they're called the it's either the B Company or D Company. David Abraham's the guy who, you know, if you Google any of this stuff, it's all because David Gregory Roberts was involved with it.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning
the
it.
Bombay
Are
Mafia.
they ex-military?
No, I think it's just anybody who is prepared to kill for them, to extort money for them, and to put it into the bigger pot. So it's,
But it's actually men, not kids, because some people have kids doing it, don't they?
well, I'm sure they probably do have as well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know, but he was part of that as well. This Ashback Bengry, and I never saw him again. And I actually googled him when I was back here in Scotland. I googled him to find out what was happening to him, and the picture of him was lying there, and he'd been stabbed to death in jail. And I thought,
wow, what a story!
He'd been stabbed to death. I done a wee limited edition in my book, just a pre-order, and I only made 50 copies of the first thing. So the first people who pre-ordered the first 50 got some photographs in the book. So there's a picture of him and the Ashback story as well, man. And horrible individual, and you know, I don't hate anybody. I don't wish harm on anybody. But when I discovered he died in the manner he died, I thought, you know.
What was the craziest thing that happened to you during this incarceration experience, or that you saw?
The craziest thing I saw, see, to be honest, right, I went through 11 months in the jail, and it was more hilarious. It was comic rather than anything else. You know, I got myself into a couple of wee fights. Obviously, I don't know what like the grub was, where useful the food was, but I was sick for a year. So I lost all the weight. I had diarrhea every day for a year. I was sick every day for a year. But it wasn't. I've got a personality, and my personality kind of
keep you down.
It got me through it. You know what I mean? There was a big English guy. And in my first book, I direct people to Google. I think the Google search is an amazing thing, you know.
Yeah.
So when I'm telling my stories in my first book, I say Google this person, no, Google that. And there was a big English guy. So I got moved to the bigger jail. I was there for a week, and then I met him in the jail, and he was from Manchester, and he had been sentenced to 15 years in his absence here, for a kidnapping thing. But while he was on bail before the sentence, he managed to get away, and his co-accused all got 14 and 15 years. He got 15 years in his absence, but apparently he got the ransom money and the jewels and never squared anybody up, right? So he was travelling with a guy in India, and the guy died. When the police looked into the guy's death, they found out he was on the run for Britain, and they arrested him, waiting on being extradited back to Britain. I'm talking a big 6'4" guy who was of Punjabi descent, so he looked Indian, could speak Punjabi. 120 kilos of muscle, this big guy. And he used to say to me, "No, how can I get out of here?" And I'd say, "Bide your time, bide your time, and people outside could help you escape. No, you're absolutely no problem, because you could disappear into India."
You just got to keep your mouth shut and watch, don't you?
Yeah. So
see what's going on.
A week into it, he's biting a guard, spitting on the governor, and then they used to take him to court like he was a big bear, and they had this guy tied with ropes. See, in the year that I was in prison, and appearing up and down to court every 2 weeks, or going to the hospital, or I was never handcuffed once.
No.
Because they have to get a special judge's dispensation or whatever to handcuff you. I saw people who I became quite close to. I had a Japanese friend, and I watched him gradually going crazy. He was in my cell. He was the most altruistic person I've met in my life. Would have done anything. Always had the cell all clean, and would do your washing for you, and I watched him gradually. His mental health deteriorated, and until he eventually cracked within a small cell, and he attacked two brothers, and then they just whisked him away. And I saw him when I got released on bail, when I was going through my trial. He won his case. This Japanese boy, he was caught with 1 kilo of hash. He lay in jail for 15 months and was acquitted. And it breaks my heart to even think about it, because he was running away for himself, and he travelled from India to Thailand, and from Thailand to Bali, carrying 6 kilo of hash. Got caught in Bali and got 18 years. And he was only out of jail about 4 months. And again, a couple of years later, I googled him, and he hung himself in Bali.
Oh man, that's terrible.
He hung himself in Bali.
You said you had a few fights. What were the fight stories?
One of the fight stories was related to the Ashback guy.
Yeah.
So we had an Italian guy, and he's my friend today, this Italian guy, Alessandro. Milana, I called him. He was from Milan. And he didn't have very much. And, like it is, if you've got, you look after people, don't you? And
yeah.
But when Ashback transferred his anger and all his stuff for the Greek guy, he put it onto the Italian guy. So the Italian guy was petrified. He had him petrified. And when I stood up that morning and Ashback left the room, the Italian guy, he kind of relaxed a bit. After 2 weeks, Ashback was kind of shouting the Italian guy, and I've had to say to him, "Look, you're in our cell now. He's left. He's plotting something.
Yeah.
You're either part of this wee foreigners gang. We called ourselves the G8. Like we're the wee gang of 8 here. You know what I mean? And we were all foreigners. We've got to stick together. This is." But he wants to isolate me, because I'm the guy who stood up to him.
Yeah.
I'll speak to who I want. I says, fine, speak to who you like, but don't expect to smoke your dope. Don't expect to take your sleeping tablets. Don't expect to take your coffee or our biscuits or anything, you know what I mean? Speak to who you like. Why don't you even go and move in with him? So me and him ended up having words, and I regret it to this day, because he was sitting and I was standing up, and he said something to me, and I just kicked him in the face, and jumped on top of him and started pummeling into him. And I had lost it, you know, I'd totally lost it. And there was a big Russian guy, and he's picked me up half him, and I could see fear in the Italian, you know, and I'm still trying to get him, and I'm saying, what was your fucking granddad doing during the war, and all that stuff, you know, and ridiculous, you know. And then about a week later, in the afternoon exercise, it was really, really hot, and everybody used to go out for an hour and maybe try and get a wee bit of shade. And he said he wasn't going for exercise, so I says, I'm not going for exercise. And it was the first chance I'd had, me and him, because I slept on a space on the floor. He was there.
Yeah.
The Russian guy was there, you know what I mean? We slept beside one another. And at 2 weeks or a week later, I've said to him, look, I'm sorry about that. And he was like, no, and he says to me, I was planning something in the yard. I was like, don't plan anything in the yard, man. This is because if you do anything in the yard, it's going to end up a big mess. I'm apologising. You can either accept it or we can finish it here. You know what I mean? But he didn't. You know, he didn't. It was. I shouldn't have done it. He didn't really have a fight in him. He had loads of Italian cheek, but. And then I had another fight with another Indian boy in the bigger jail. My mum had came to visit and she brought me new shoes. And they were outside the cell. And this morning I went out and my shoes weren't there.
Oh, wow.
And I was like that. And so by this point I had a wee jail bitch who wasn't my actual bitch, but he was the wee guy who done my washing and all that stuff. And I used to wake up in the morning, I'd be sitting at the end of my bed just waiting on his instructions for the day. But he was like to me, Branson was the guy's name. Branson's took your shoes. I was like, where's Branson? He's like, wait, court. I was like, is he? So Branson was a going. So I knew enough to know that I couldn't just go and batter Branson, you know what I mean? Because he was going and I was a foreigner. So I went and spoke to the guy who was in charge of the shot caller in that jail. And I says, fucking Branson's took my shoes and brought me court. I don't take tension, he'll be back. And I was like, no. I says, he won't even be wearing socks in my good Lacoste training shoes, you know. I'm not having that. And so I used to get this guy stoned all the time. And he's like, I'll speak to him. And I says, no, the minute he walks in this hall, man, I'm going to break his nose. He's like, no, you can't do that. I was like, well, what's going to happen if I do? He's like, just don't hit him too hard. No. So that was, he gave me the okay to, but again, I punched this guy a couple of times and I knew straight away when there was no punches coming back that you can't fucking...
Should have took your shoes though, should he?
No, and he was like, no, but... so the shot caller, he wears your shoes. I was like, doesn't he wear them shoes? He wears the other ones that lie beside it. And because none of them were socks, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, no, you're not wearing my shoes, man. So I didn't, you know, I saw people going crazy. I started to tell you, the big guy, his name was A.J. Kushal. The name he went with in India was Danny Kushal. But he ended up saving up his antidepressants and his sleeping tablets and committing suicide.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't want to come back here. You know, and I could see him getting crazier and crazier.
We're almost going to have to wrap up now. Can you tell us how you beat your case?
So all the policemen in my case got arrested on drug-related corruption charges.
That always helps, doesn't it?
So that's what happened.
Why couldn't have that happened for us?
It should have.
So what happened was...
That's a prayer answered right there.
All the policemen... I'd been lying in jail for 11 months. There was a case with some Israelis and local politicians, and all the drug squad all got arrested on drug-related corruption charges, and I was given bail. And I thought, this is brilliant, man. I've been in there for a year. I'll be home pretty soon.
Well, all his arrests from there onwards have been corrupt, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Aye.
Tainted.
Yeah.
Aye, but well, you would think that. But the charges against them dated back 10 years, so which would have covered my case.
Yeah.
I went to the consulate. They were like, no, it's got nothing to do with you. My lawyer's like, you just need to be patient. At the same time as they were going through a trial in the same court as me, we were all appearing and they were on the benches and they were going like that to me, don't worry, everything will be okay. And it took me another 3 years of going through a trial in India, up and down to court.
You think you'd be entitled to compensation for that?
Aye, you know, absolutely nothing. You know, my mental health deteriorated, my addiction stuff got worse. I was still sending stuff back. I was still doing the stuff that got me arrested in the first place.
Yeah.
Because there's no way of subsidising yourself there. You know, you can't work because you wouldn't be earning any money working. If the policemen are only earning £70 a month wages.
In India, how much is the dope? How much is, say, like an ounce of Rocky?
So the dope was quite good. It was hand rolled stuff, straight for the plant, and I think at the time I'd paid about £600 a kilo.
So it's like bush.
No. It was like soft black.
Soft black. Got you. Yeah.
It was like soft black for the 80s, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Before they'd discovered how to put shit through it.
Yeah.
So how did it feel to get released?
Again, there was a big anticlimax. You know, I was up and down to court. So nothing happens. Like the witnesses were all done, and then 2 months later I was back up for the legal argument, and then there was another wee break, and then when I went up for the verdict, I went up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was told to come back in the afternoon. I went back at 2 and I was told to come back at 5. And when I went back at 5, there was one wee policeman in the court who I'd got to know over the 4-year period, and he was like, well done. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, case finished. And then the clerk of the court came out, called me into the judge's chambers. So there was the prosecutor was there, I was there, and somebody from my lawyer's office, and the judge spoke in Konkani. The lawyer's understudy stood up, shook my hand and told me that was it, my case was finished.
So if it's kicked out like that, you're not deported and banned from the country?
No, they then had 3 months to appeal against my case. So I was acquitted on the 23rd of April, and it was the May, June, the 23rd of July before I was eventually given a one-trip passport to leave the country.
I think people will be curious, James, as to know what you're doing with your life now then, since then.
So I drive a taxi for a living, but I'm also in recovery, so I do quite a lot of 12-step recovery stuff on myself and working with other addicts. I've done a couple of small things working with groups of young guys. So I'm going back to college in August to study counselling.
So you're bettering yourself and you're paying it forward?
Well, I'm definitely moving forward, and I would like to get some sort of employment. You know, I'm 54, I've not made any provision for my retirement, so I'll be working until I'm 70 odd. So I would like to be doing something like that I can be using all my experience.
You don't really think about retirement, do you?
No, you don't when you're out there.
I've never had a fucking job in my life, apart from working with my dad, really.
Aye.
So I'm not going to actually... I mean, I don't even get money off the government. I don't even get dole or anything.
No.
So I don't know if you're allowed a pension if you don't get money. Imagine everyone's allowed a pension, like, aren't they?
Aye, but I think it's all contribution based as well. So.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
So are you available for schools talks in Glasgow if any teachers or students are watching
Absolutely.
this?
If anybody's watching this, I'm available for.
Is there any other ways people can help you out there besides buying your book and supporting you? Available worldwide on Amazon. 2 books. Links are in the description box below this video.
But if you know the man locally, go and get it off him so he gets all the money.
Yeah, go and check him out in Glasgow and pay cash. And he'll make slightly more than that through Amazon by doing that if you are up there. Is there anything you'd like to say to the people who've watched this video today?
No, just thanks for taking the time to watch it. Thank you two guys for having me on.
Been a pleasure.
No, it's been great. It's a cracking experience. It's good having positive experiences in my life today.
Yeah.
Holy shit you've been through, man. Yeah, bloody hell.
Thanks very much.
Cheers. Yeah, cheers.
Thanks,
Yeah,
mate.
take care, James. Yeah.